Hi everyone, Ron Crider here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. You're at our beach, Vero Beach, Florida, 90 miles south of Orlando, about 60 miles south of Cape Canaveral, about 60 miles north of West Palm Beach, right on the Atlantic Ocean. Stick my foot in the water out there. Beautiful day today. Here's our beach at Victoria Condominium in Vero Beach. Today we're making Coquilles Jacques. It's a French dish, and this is sort of a Ron Crider version of it. It's a little bit complicated, so follow along and let's take a look and see what the ingredients are. Here we go. We get the mushrooms, we have the scallops, the shallots, Gruyère cheese, heavy cream over there, some potatoes because we would pipe the potatoes around it. We have some white wine, we have some stock, obviously salt and pepper, and cognac. It's a really very, very tasty dish. It takes a little while to put together. If you've done it before, it will go together fairly quickly because you really will have the feel of how to do it. There are really like 3 or 4 major parts of it, and the first part is let's get these potatoes ready. So the first thing we do with the potatoes is chop the potatoes up. We will cut them in half because I like to have the potatoes about the same size, each piece about the same size, and if you cut them in half, they will cook quicker. Take them over and let's throw them in the pot. Got our pot of water boiling. Let's get these guys in here, and notice when I throw them in, they just splash all over the place. There you go. Was a great idea, Ron. All right, now we got to chop up the mushrooms. Not a great chopper. You see these guys on TV, bang, 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 bang. I don't really get to do that because that's not my thing. I'm an electrical guy, not a kitchen guy, but I like to cook and I like to eat. So this is how I do it. And you're welcome to do it any way you like. This is the shallot. And this is probably a fairly decent way to do this one. It's a little cumbersome, but I cut it in half and then I chop it this way. So it seemed to work out pretty well for me. That's really the way you're supposed to do it. Put the knife and then cut it down. Put it forward and pull down. Let's shred up the Gruyère cheese here because this is going to be part of phase 3. There's phase 1 is the bechamel sauce, and then there is the cooking of the mushrooms and then the breaded part. And there we have the cheese. We make that with olive oil and the Panko. The green beans, I'm going to have some green beans with this dinner, and here is everything ready to go to begin to cook. There are the shallots, there are the mushrooms back there, and salt and pepper, and we're just all ready to, as they say, rock and roll and have a great dinner made French style called Coquilles Jacques. Got our heavy-duty cast iron big pan there, and back there in the back you see the bacon that I am going to do the green beans in. I keep my menus on the right and left side, the ingredients, so I know what I'm doing. Here we're going to put butter in here. Now this is a very important part of this whole process. This is butter, and you'll see the ingredients if you look at the bottom of this. You'll see the ingredients, and flour. And you got to do this very carefully. You use the exact amount of ingredients. One of the things about French cooking is you can't just wing it. It's a little bit like baking, and so you check the ingredients that I put in here. I think it was like 3/4 of a stick of butter and a half a cup of flour. And you got to do this at about medium heat. You don't want it too hot. You don't want it to burn. And you can hear my dogs barking in the background there. They're very excited about this dish. And you do this for about 3 minutes. And you want to make sure that it combines very, very nicely, and make sure that there aren't any lumps in that butter and flour. And I'm using a whisk that's designed to be in that pan, so it's not going to scratch up the bottom of the pan. So I did that for about 3 minutes. Then we're going to move on, and the next thing we will do is I'm going to add in, come on here, get it together. This is the stock, and it is either a seafood stock. You can use clam juice if you like. but it's a seafood type of stock. You can get it at the grocery store. Your fishmonger might have actual scallop sauce, and you got to be very careful about stirring. So just keep stirring, and as you notice, what's happening here is it's beginning to thicken, and now we're going to add in the heavy cream. So this is a very important process, and if you do it pretty much like I have done here, and this is fairly much in real time, although over the course of doing this, it would take about 5 minutes in all to get it to this point. But if you just keep watching, you'll notice that this is going to begin to thicken. And here you go. See this? It's just beginning to get a little bit thick, but just keep stirring it because everything does need to be combined and be combined very well. And we don't want to have any lumps in this sauce. They call it a bechamel sauce. It's a French sauce. It's the basis for a lot of different French dishes. All right, now let's go over here, and in this pan we have some olive oil and butter, and we're going to put the shallots in there, get those going. Okay, now they're beginning to cook, and we got to put the mushrooms in. And want to reduce these because the water from the mushrooms will begin to come out, and so you'll have water in the bottom of this, so you're going to have to cook it for about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, to be able to get all the flavors to infuse with each other. Okay, now there comes the cognac. And that was about a half a cup of cognac, and that's salt and pepper. I should have put more cognac in. So if you look at my recipe, I've corrected the recipe to put in the correct. I probably should put about a cup of cognac in here and then reduce it. But you see how it was done there? Now we're going to combine it after it gets reduced, and you see there's not much liquid in there, and everything is fused together, and now we're combining it with the bechamel sauce. And use the right device there, Crider. Okay, there you go. All right. So now we want to combine these guys together, and again, this is about a 3 or 4 minute stir. And see how nice and thick that is? That's exactly the way it needs to be. Now, this is a good time for you to taste it. You can get a little spoon and check it and say, do I like that? Do I need a little bit more cognac in it? Or you can put white wine in it, or you don't have to put any kind of booze in it. This is the Panko and the Gruyère-shaped Gruyère cheese and the parsley. And then we use the olive oil sitting back there to get everything together. Sorry, I'm a little bit off screen here, but it'll come back. And combine this together. This should have a little bit of a wet mixture when you're finished with it. You can see here it's just a teeny bit damp, and that's the way it needs to be, damp because of the olive oil. That's going to go on the topping of everything. All right, now. So we didn't have the right scallops. My shopping assistant got scallops that were way too small. These should be really big scallops, and they're not. And I wanted to try to get them to have a little saute finish to them. As it turns out, they were way too small to do that, because otherwise they would have been totally cooked. I got a little bit of that on them, as you can see, and I started pulling them out quickly because I didn't want them to cook, because they're going to go into the oven and cook as well. So you must have large scallops. Don't get these little small guys. This was a very bad idea, but that's what I had, and so I decided to go with it. And I pulled these things out because it doesn't take very long to cook them because they're so small. I mean, it's like cooking shrimp. So they weren't in there longer than 30, 45 seconds at the absolute most, and that might have been a little bit too long. All right, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the bechamel sauce with the mixture of the mushrooms and the shallots, and we're going to put these in the little dish here. should be an oven-proof dish, because you're going to bake this for about 20 minutes. And if you don't mind, I'm going to use my fingers and stick them in here and throw those little pieces of fish in there. Here we go. Okay, and the next event is to take the mashed potatoes. Here are our mashed potatoes. And the real chefs, they have a little piping device. I don't know exactly what they call that. And they can pipe these potatoes around the edges of this little dish. I'm using just a little small tablespoon and putting them around that way. Put them around all the way around. You want to end up with a lot more scallops and that scallop mixture in there than potatoes. The potatoes is just kind of a little bit of an accent, but they are really good. Okay, one more step. Let's go get the Panko or breadcrumbs. Put a generous amount of those on there. And there's one more thing we got to do, and that's to grind up this nutmeg and put the nutmeg all around the potatoes. You'll see it will begin to show up here in just a second. Whoop, sorry about that. Okay, let's take another look here. There we go. I have to tell you, it tasted really good. Gave it to some of my friends, they liked it as well. And here is the finished dish, Coquilles Jacques. Made 4 of them. Each one looks a little bit different depending on where it was sitting in the oven. 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. You'll see them begin to bubble. Then I put it on broil for another 5 minutes to make the top brown just a little bit. Coquilles Jacques. It was fun to make. It took me a couple of hours to put it together because this is the first time I've made it in a long time. And if you follow my instructions, look at some other videos from other people who have done them and get an idea. First, I'll tell you, you'll really enjoy it regardless of how you make it. So, Coquilles Jacques, and we are in Vero Beach, Florida, along the Atlantic Ocean at the Victoria. And coming up here is our surf again. And everybody who sees these videos says, "Oh, I like the surf. Sometimes the surf's better than your videos are. Just give me a video on the surf." So I try to do a different surf video every time, depending on the weather. Today it's like another day, like a San Diego day here in Florida, about 72 degrees. Not a cloud. Well, I shouldn't say not a cloud in the sky. You can see a few clouds out, little puffy clouds, but it's a very beautiful day. Thanks for watching the video. If you like it, give me a like. I'd appreciate it. Ron Crider here in Vero Beach at the beach. Coquilles Jacques. Have a great day.